Hey, this is Maria Bigliardi, and I am a kinship coach. So, I am a certified life coach who specializes in kinship care. So, through my program, Confidently Stepping Up, I am able to help navigate kinship families into finding the joy and the healing that they need on their journey, but also to help them navigate the unique challenges that they have as kinship families. So, for those of you who don't know, kinship care, simply put, is a relative, like a grandmother or another relative, raising a child that they are related to, but it is not their biological child. So it may be a grandmother raising a grandchild or an aunt raising a nephew or something like that. And when that happens, that creates a whole different dynamic for the family. And there are not a lot of resources out there to help these families. And there's not a lot of education out there to help these families. So I wanted to take the opportunity to do that this evening. So I am a kinship child. I was adopted by my grandparents, and now I get the opportunity to pay that forward. And I am a kinship mama now, and I am taking care of my nephew. So there are differences from state to state, but generally speaking, there isn't a lot of support in most states for kinship families, and quite often they fall through the cracks, so to speak. But there are some states who have kinship programs very similar to foster care programs where these families can get the support and the resources that they need. So, what do you do if you're in a state where they don't have that? So, for my state in Tennessee, we don't really have a lot to offer as far as state funded programs. But there are ways to help out without that. So with the kinship families, there are a lot of things they're going through that affects the little kids in the classroom. And as educators, you care about those little kids dearly. You probably lay awake at night and worry about some of them. You lose some sleep over some of these little kids. And it's just, I want to be able to help you ease some of that stress and anxiety for these children and give you some tools that you can use. So with kinship families, quite often they feel alone, big time. The kinship caregivers feel alone, and also the child feels very much alone. Nobody knows what they are going through. Nobody understands. They don't feel like they have anybody that they can talk to. And that isolation is detrimental. It can have a huge negative impact for the family. A lot of the times, the friendships that the kinship caregivers had break down. The friends, that relationship drifts apart because they don't quite understand what the caregivers are now going through. They don't understand their situation. And oftentimes even family members fall into that, and it just further isolates the family. There's also a financial burden. They don't get the help that foster families do, and a lot of the times it's grandparents raising the children, and they're on a limited income, and now they have 2 or 3 more mouths to feed. 2 or 3 more little ones to clothe and support. There's also a generational gap, and I'm sure some of you have experienced that with COVID and online learning. You've got maybe some older caregivers who just aren't tech savvy, and they struggle with getting their children where they need to be so they don't fall behind in their education. But there's also the generational gap where they don't understand some of the pop culture. They don't understand some of the norms that are in schools today or in our youth. And it gives the kids the opportunity to take advantage of that sometimes. And it's good to be aware of that and to help educate some of these grandparents about what's really going on or things to look for to start noticing some trouble in the kids so they can kind of cut that out before it ever gets started. Their entire lives, the entire family, their lives have been disrupted. You can't go back to your old life. It's not there anymore. You're forever changed, even if reunification is what happens with these kiddos. They go back to their parents, and that is the ultimate goal if it's at all possible. But the lives of the entire family has changed. So the caregiver, they have to assume a new role. So they're not grandma anymore. They have to shift to the parent role. Maybe a sister is not sister anymore. She has to shift to the parent role. And there's a lot of things going into that makes that very difficult. But then you have the child who also lost their old life. They've got trauma on top of being separated from mom and dad, or separated from other siblings even. And they're going through a lot as well. And on top of that, there's the trauma. And then on top of that, there is a lot of addiction that surrounds the kinship families quite often. And the children are dealing with that and have seen things. And the caregivers are stuck in these roles where they've got divided loyalty. So they've got a child that has lost custody of their child, and they want to do what's best for them while at the same time do what's best for their grandchild that they're raising. The family dynamics can get very difficult, and the caregivers quite often will neglect themselves. So they don't practice self-care, and they don't make sure they're going to the doctor like they need to, or eating like they're supposed to. And it's just a rough situation all the way around. So what can we do to help? You've got these little guys in your classroom, or these big guys. I mean, you're in the trenches with them. You see them most of the time more than their caregivers do. You see more of what's going on than their caregivers do. You are stressed out and worried about these children and how you can help them. And I know that the national average is 10% of the children are in kinship situations. But there are some areas where it's as high as 24%. And that's not a load that you can take on. that is not a burden that you can take on yourself, given all of the kids that you're trying to take care of. You can only do so much, but you can make a huge difference and have a huge impact on these families' lives. So I'll tell you a little story about a client of mine who got her grandson, and she got him at the beginning of a 9 weeks. And at the end, the report card comes out. He had told her what the school expectations were, what homework he would have. The report card comes out, and the grades are not good. One of them is failing for sure, and the rest are pretty close to it. So she emailed the teacher, and the teacher explained what was expected. And the next 9 weeks, they've been working, the client and her grandson have been working together. The next 9 weeks has ended, and they're excited to get this report card back because they have some amazing plans. They have a celebration that they want to do to celebrate his hard work and all that he has accomplished in this time. The report card comes back. The grades are no different. It's still failing, and the rest are pretty close to failing. And they were both just deflated, and they didn't know where the breakdown was. So she actually went in and spoke to the principal, and she spoke to the teacher to find out where the gap was at. And being a united front, the parents or the caregivers working at home, as well as the teachers working in school and talking to one another, made such a huge difference on that next report card. The F went to a B. They found the gap, they were communicating, and they helped this child to see his potential and celebrate his potential and bring his F up to a B. So you've got the kids in class that may be disruptive, and that's hard in the classroom because you don't want this child to miss out on their education. But you've also got an entire classroom filled with other children who are wanting to learn as well. And you can't let that child disrupt their education. So you're between a rock and a hard place. Or you've got that child that is withdrawn and very quiet, and you know that something is going on up here, but you're not quite sure what. And you lay awake and you worry about that child as well, wondering what they're going through and how you can help. And it's the educators are just, they're in a hard spot here when it comes to kinship care, because so many of the kinship caregivers don't know where to start. They have no clue. They don't realize that they probably don't need to take the word of the children on everything. But, this is all new for them. Some of them had an empty nest and they're reparenting again. Or some of them, like myself, became an insta-parent overnight to a 12-year-old. There was not months of planning for this child and the learning that takes place as you progress through the ages with the child. They don't know where to even begin, and it doesn't even really click that they need to connect with the educators. So you've got the two groups, the caregivers and the educators, who are spending all of their time with the child, and sometimes they don't talk. So the one thing that you can do is, if you have a child in this situation and you know about it, connect and unite with that caregiver. Have a conversation with them, maybe on the phone. Have them come in if you can at all, but connect with them and let them know what your expectations are in class. Let them know what you're seeing in class, because sometimes you all see things going on in the classroom that behavior is not going on at home, or vice versa. The parents see something going on at home that maybe isn't going on in the classroom, and being able to work together on that and coming together as a united front for the kids can make all of the difference in the world. So these families need a team put together. They need to know that they have people in their corner, that they have support, and they have people in their kids' corner. More importantly, they have somebody in their kids' corner that's there to help them out and help get them through this time. And just you reaching out and saying, hey, I just wanted to connect, lets them know that they do have somebody and they aren't alone in this. Because that is one of the worst feelings in the world. We were never built or designed to be alone. We need that connection. We need that social interaction. Everybody does. These kids do. Their families do. And they need that. And just by my client contacting the teacher and going in and being able to ask questions face to face, because sometimes just emails don't cut it. You need to be able to have that face to face talk. They helped this little guy go from an F to a B in 9 weeks, and all of his other grades improved too. And they helped him tap into that potential, and that has boosted his confidence astronomically. He is a totally different child 6 months down the road than he was when he first went into kinship care, and that was with the teachers and the caregivers working together. So just that one simple thing of connecting with them and seeing what the family is going through and what you can offer will have a huge impact. Also, school counselors, just alerting them to what is going on and letting them connect with the kids, because so many of these children have been betrayed by adults that they should be able to trust, and they don't have that trust anymore. So these kids need to learn that they have adults that they can trust. They have teachers that they can trust. They have counselors that they can trust. People who have their back and who are supporting them all the way. These kids need that, and it will make a huge difference in their lives just knowing that they have that. So you connect with the families, and this will greatly reduce the stress and anxiety that you have about that child, wondering what's going on or what's happening. You'll connect with the family, you'll know what's going on, and you'll have a better understanding. And for that child, you'll be able to sleep better at night knowing that the caregivers at home are doing their part, because it's not all on you all. The teachers can't do everything. The people at home need to do their part too. But sometimes the people at home don't understand what their part is. So connecting with them is going to help you. But also, if there are resources in your area that you know of, you can share that with them. I have a free community that they can join where they can get a lot of support and encouragement and all the things that they need. And you are welcome to invite them to that or give them that information. I can put that in the comments. But just arming these families with resources and support that they need and connecting with them to let them know that they're not alone is something that will make a huge difference, not only for the child and the family now, but it will drastically impact their future and their children's future. Because usually this is a cycle that continues on and you get stuck in the trauma loop, and we have to break that loop somewhere, and we can only do that by coming together and supporting them. So thank you all for the honor of getting to be here and speak with you, and I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of the week. And I will talk with you again on Wednesday. So if you have any questions about kinship care, be sure to show up with those and we'll talk about it. Thank you again. Bye-bye.